Like the guy who wrote the book was like, he worked with like people who were in prison for child molestation. And he was like, after I worked with these people for a while, like several months, I would have left my children in a room alone with them and know that they would be okay, because that's how powerful this is.
Today I have Kendall James Milton, aka Kundalini Kendall. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Great. So Kendall, who are you?
That is a loaded question, but I'll try to be succinct with that. So I am, first of all, I'm obviously the universe expressing itself,
Okay, we're
but
starting from out there. We're gonna reel it in. Okay.
right. But on a human level, I'm a psychic channel and an energy healer, and I'm also a screenwriter and an actor. Hollywood, Hollyweird, crazy industry. But I feel like I bring the spiritual, the healer side with the artist side together. And I like to say, whether it's through the stories I'm telling or the work I'm doing, I feel like I'm really here to help. I like to say the misunderstood misfits of
Mm.
the world come into their power and realize their true potential. As a fellow misunderstood misfit myself, um, I lean probably towards a female audience, but I think I'm here for anyone and everyone that resonates with what I do. So, yeah.
So Kendall is like she said, screenwriter in Hollywood, and she has shown me some of what she's done, and she's fucking hilarious. She's she's very tapped in as well. She's on her YouTube channel, Kundalini Kendall. Um, has some really awesome meditations, and she does a lot of work with I.F.S. I.F.S. Right?
Yeah, internal family. Yeah.
And I've had some profound sessions with her as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we really have. We've done because I combine IFS with um well, also past life regression sometimes. So
Hmm.
I do it
Hmm.
in a way that hasn't been done, where IFS, it was developed by Richard Schwartz, who is a psychiatrist, and it was developed in a much more like sort of clinical way. But he essentially discovered that we are broken up into these different parts of ourselves, right? So like you have your ego and your mind and your subconscious, but and you can store limiting beliefs in there, but you can also store limiting beliefs in your physical body, like in
Hmm.
the form of an ailment. Like I used to struggle with my whole life with bladder issues, and I've
Hmm.
been able to like deeply heal that through IFS, as well as aligning with maybe certain supplements or things like that. I mean, it's the physical with the spiritual, but I have cured myself from chronic UTIs, honestly, and interstitial cystitis, which is bladder inflammation, that I found out was a part that I was formed in me when I was 4 years old. That learned that when I couldn't express my needs emotionally, I expressed them physically, so that a caretaker could see something was wrong with me, but it was still at my late 20s, 30 years old,
Hmm.
like perpetuating. And so I kind of compare it to the movie Inside Out, where it's like all the little emotions, but it's like we have all these little parts of ourselves within our body. And so Richard Schwartz developed this technique where you actually speak to these parts and you treat them like you would a little child that's scared of the monster under the bed, and they have a specific belief that they think is keeping you safe. So it's really powerful, but it's done in a more clinical sort of like petty, maybe masculine, I don't know if that, but like way. And so I take it in this way of combining it with visualization, meditation, and Reiki, um, and energy healing, in addition to doing the IFS. So it's a little bit of a unique spin on it.
I know that when I did one of the sessions with you, when I went into a past life, it was very revealing. I was this woman in like the Victorian era. This is a past life of mine. And I've done past life regression, I've done past life work, but I know very few of my past lives. Um, but what came through, at least just what came to me was I was this woman in some kind of I mean, I'm not entirely sure. It was some kind of English settlement colony. I mean, I there was a body of water. It could have been anywhere from like, England itself to like the Caribbean. I mean, there's places like that all over. But I was wearing this white dress, and um, I was a
You were a midwife.
I was a midwife. I remember, yeah. I was a midwife, and saw I just saw like all these women having children, and there was a part of me that deeply desired the happiness and the fulfillment of having a child of my own, but that required a man, at that time, to provide that, and I was just nowhere near a worthy or attractive, or even just like I was weird. I was kind of on my own, and I was good at assisting others. Um, and I kind of just gave up on that, but I always helped other people deliver their joy and bring themselves their joy into the world. And it was from another past life that I am aware of, or I have been aware of before that session, that where I gave up on things because I felt an extreme amount of guilt of what I did to others that I love, even if it wasn't directly my fault. It was something that I blamed myself for. And then I guess I took a vow or something where I wouldn't take joy or partners or whatever. It was very interesting,
Yeah.
very profound, powerful.
Yeah, and it's like you almost made like a soul contract in that life, and like
Yeah.
that had perpetuated, and so cleared that, I think. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's crazy how that ripples out.
And we even did a thing where we wrote it. And I just saw her just stripping her clothes off and going like wild woman naked dancing in the in the I don't know, it was like a river or something. It was some kind of body of water. It was like a canal. I don't know what it was, but it was just kind of really funny.
She was living her
Um,
best life, and she would wanted to go to like Ulta and get like a new
yeah, yeah. I was like, I took her to Sephora. I was like, you can make yourself look over. She was loving
every
it.
small girl, you can get your hair done. Yeah, it was the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, And just I want to go back because you were talking about like the Inside Out, and how like I just can totally as a screenwriter I can totally imagine you writing like a little animated series about those little people. I mean not without it being different than Inside Out, of course, but about it instead of feeling or emotion, it's
All
the parts.
It's like
Yeah.
all the parts of you that are different ages. I like that's so funny that you say that, because yeah, I want I want to do it with Pixar. So, but like I want to do a movie like that about specifically internal family systems. I think
Mhm.
that would be really powerful for kids to have that awareness and adults to
Oh
have
yeah.
that awareness. And one of the reasons that I'm so passionate about I.F.S is it's like it really is profound. I mean, the guy who created it was like, even we there's certain parts, or I guess aspects of like society that we don't want to look at. We don't want to, because it's too hard. Almost, we don't want to look at what makes a murderer, or what makes a
Hmm.
rapist, or what makes these like child molester, or any of
But
these.
it's about time. We need to look at that.
Totally.
Yeah.
We have to look at that. And I'm the queen of going into the darkness and looking at that stuff and with a flashlight. And a lot of people don't like that, but we have to look at it because that's where like the light comes in. Like, that's why I am so passionate about like going to the depths of the emotion. Like, yes, as a writer, I want to write stuff that's putting out more joy into the world. But I believe in order to really, and this is, if you see the most recent Inside Out, they talk a lot about this, like when she allows the storm of her emotions to come in, when she allows herself to feel everything, anxiety, rage, all these things, instead of joy, the character being like toxic positivity, we have to be joyful all the time. We have to be joyful all the time. Only good memories, only good memories, only good memories. Then joy is like called forth. There's this part where the keyboard like lights up and it's gold, and like after she lets herself move through all the emotions, the
Spoilers
character,
alert. Spoilers alert, by the way. But
sorry, you should put that. You should probably put that like below. But she's called to, like, for the first time, she's actually asked forward. She doesn't have to force it. And so I
mm,
believe in like allowing ourselves to go through all of these like dark emotions and this stuff, then true like euphoria and joy can actually come through. But you kind of have to move through, at least where we're at in like humanity's evolution right now, you got to move through all the shadow and the darkness that has come before it. We can't bypass that, you know. And so I
mhm,
think I.F.S allows you to do that. Like the guy who wrote the book was like, he worked with like people who were in prison for child molestation, and he was like, after I worked with these people for a while, like several months, I would have left my children in a room alone with them and know that they would be okay, because that's how powerful this is, you know. And I like,
mm,
that's something, you know, that's really personal to me, like that whole like experience. And so I think that it, you know, in discovering I.F.S, not only could I heal my own trauma of the stuff that I experienced, I was able to find, and not bypassing like all the grief and the rage and all the feelings that the certain things that happened to me made me feel. I was able to find a deeper sense of like forgiveness
mhm,
for family members who had like abused me, because they um because I could understand it in terms of parts work. So like the parts, these are these different, like oftentimes people who do abuse were victims of abuse themselves. And like my boyfriend always says, like it's like trauma is like a prison, so it
mhm,
ripples through. Each person is so unique for how trauma ripples through someone. You know, someone can be molested and then they can go on to be a child molester. Somebody else can be molested and they can go on to be just like an over empath that's constantly in
yeah,
fight or flight, or what, like it just ripples through us all so differently. And so it doesn't justify abusive actions, and I would never ever justify, like that's something I'm very passionate about
mhm,
actually being at the forefront of, is like child, like specifically sexual child abuse, and just abuse just in terms of sexuality on like a large scale, like whether it's
mhm,
human trafficking or all these different things. But I think that like it so doesn't bypass or justify, if you are a victim of this, like I see you and I hear you, and it is like literally not your fault what happened to you at all. But it allowed me, after I went through all the other emotions, to finally at least be like, I can see that, like while there were good parts of this person who hurt me that were true, there was also all these like sort of dark parts, and like a person can kind of hold both at once. So
mhm.
it allows you to see that, I guess, in a different way, which it's, I found peace for myself in that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's interesting you were talking about, um, well, I don't want to go specifically into it, but the context of what you were talking about. It's really interesting. We see a lot of these things on a mass scale. The victims can really show you where, like, who the victims are can show you where the issue lies.
Right.
A
Right.
lot of these victims are children, pointing it back to that it is an inner child wound to the people who do these things.
Yeah.
That's the mirror, I feel at least. And so this is where, in the shift of humanity, where we know we're bickering over superficial things of these events, um, but to look deeply, look at it from a different level, and get to the root core, the root cause of it. It's not that people are inherently bad, but these people, these souls, these individuals, have had this thing happen to them. And I think that's a new, and like you were saying, as we look at these things, as we look at ourselves, No, as we heal ourselves, we heal many. We heal so many on a collective level. There is just this like cache of data that as we heal certain things within us, it is contributing to that for others as well. I believe, at least. And so, and then these tools, these resources, this awareness can go out into other parts of our society, thus healing and making a safer world for us all.
Yeah, so it's exactly, and it's like I'm writing a musical about this exact thing, about the transformation of going into the darkness and
Mm,
liberating a um myself. It's like the butterfly, because
mm,
this is something to expand people too, of like, so when I first started to awaken, and like I mean, here's the thing. I had spiritual gifts. I talked to fucking spirits when I was 3 years old. But I was like, this is a big wound I've had to heal, right? I was very, in some ways, gaslit for it, or it was like very written off as my imagination, but it wasn't real. But then that was tied into also a particular person in my life, this family member, like passed. So
mm,
I was trying as a child to connect to that person's spirit to understand. And then it was like I would share that information with people in my family, and it was not met with, it was, I was like gaslit, or not, it was like
mm,
not validated. And I think that just is my biggest lesson, has been to trust myself, my intuition in this life. And I've experienced a lot of situations where I've been like, this is what my intuition is telling me, and reality is showing me the exact opposite because of it, and I'm overcoming that.
mm.
But as I started to awaken as an adult, right? And I was like going through just that's fucking crazy. Like I call it my stepbrother's era, because my whole life blew up.
That's a
I
whole nother podcast. We can
Yeah,
go into that.
yeah, exactly. My whole life blew up. I had to move back home with my parents, and but I was connecting with this person on the other side. And they said to me, this is before I had like the memories resurface that I had like tucked away. And they said to me, ask your someone else in my family about butterflies. And I was like, butterflies, like why butterflies? Like something about a child. And I asked that person in my family about butterflies, and if she had any memories related to her childhood. And she said, I do remember a poster next to my bed that said, with a butterfly, that said, if you love someone, set them free. And
Mm,
I didn't know what that meant at the time. I didn't know what that was. And then all these other things came up, and I realized that this person who was communicating with me was the person who not only hurt like me, but I believe this other family member, you know, it's like, whatever, not to go into the details of that, but it's like, and then since then, it's like I went through all the emotions and the rage and the betrayal and all of it. And I still go through it at times. But what I realize is, it's like this person, I could feel that this person's soul like couldn't even go on to like be maybe reincarnated into an experience that wasn't the same wheel of karma,
mm,
to like that their karma, that they had to bring me this information, because they need to be set free. They need to be set free from this karmic cycle. And then it's like, it's also setting my whole like lineage free and all this stuff. And so it just like, it's exactly what you're saying, where it's like, that's hard to grapple with, right, on a human level, because you're like, we want to like villainize people. It's like, it's how we feel safe. It's like, this person equals bad, this person equals good,
it's
this.
easier to do. Just say they're bad, sweep them under the rug into that corner. But those things, just because you
Right.
close your eyes, doesn't mean they go away.
It
And
doesn't.
a lot of these things within our society,
Cancel culture in a lot of
you know,
ways.
and it grows and it festers and becomes unhealthy. And then, that's, you can lock people and things in the basement, doesn't mean they go away. And we not only do that with, we do that with everything. We do that with our literally physical world with other people. We do that with our consciousness. We do that with our spirituality. We say it's all in hell. It's all down there, it's bad. And, we, instead of this integration, instead of this healing, you know, maybe hell's on fire because no one's gone down there with a fire extinguisher and try to like tend to it, you know? A garden gets gnarly and overgrown because it's neglected, you know, instead of going out there and pulling some weeds and
Yeah,
giving it the tender love that it needs.
that was a beautiful rhyme. Yeah, that's
Oh, did I
exactly
rhyme? I don't even know.
you did. But no, it's exactly what you're saying. And like I know we've talked about this a bunch, but I love Lilith in astrology.
Yeah.
And we've talked a lot about how she, for those of you who don't know, like everybody has a Black Moon Lilith placement, and it represents like the part of you as a child that was the most shamed and the most like kind of you
The
feel a lot
dark,
of
repressed feminine.
yeah, and we all have it, but it's like in kind of bringing it to the light and alchemizing it, it's also your
Mhm.
greatest source of liberation. And so I, Lilith is also, I wrote a metal song in my musical. My boyfriend and I are writing it together, but
Fucking
it's
love that.
age, and it's about how it's like the story of Lilith, and she, in the Bible, well, not in the Bible, because it's of course not in the Bible, but it's the story that she was Adam's lover before Eve, and she wanted to dominate, and she liked to be on top, and he was like, no, I want to dominate you. And she was like, okay, well, fuck you. I'm going to go fuck the devil. So she went and fucked the devil and like everyone else. But she, to me, and I love that story because it's like,
That's hard.
she wasn't just made out of like Adam's rib, but like fucking Eve, no offense, but Eve is like, it's like, I don't know. I just feel like Eve is very like meh. I just think Lilith is
She's
like
the perfect housewife that we made, you know, like
yes, yes, from our rib, like really. And I think so. I think that like when I've channeled Lilith before, and I channeled her with a friend. When I was at like a wedding, we were in this like hotel room together, and I had actually just met her. So, but we were decided to channel Lilith together. It's like the first 10 minutes of meeting each other, and
why not?
she was like the biggest message she had was kind of like she's like because like people have demonized Lilith. They've said that she eats babies. They've said all these different things, and but the really message that she had is she's like, I wouldn't have to be so fucking scary if you didn't like keep me repressed in the
Mhm.
shadows. She's like, I represent all the ways that women like aren't the things that women feel shame around, that we're not talking to each other about, that we're not open with each other about. So it's like
Key to
the
your liberation,
yeah, yeah,
freedom.
and like whether it's body image or just like constant, like there's just so many different things that women silently kind of shame or deal with and they keep in the shadows, and or like even our connection to sexuality in like a healthy way, or our bodies in a healthy way, and all these things like we don't talk about. But if we brought them to the
Mhm.
surface to talk about, like Lilith is like, I wouldn't have to be so fucking angry. Like it's like Kali, it's like, yeah, she wants to like, she's holding like the head of the patriarchy, but it's like she's angry because of the system that we've been living in that has had to make her be that way. And I think
She's
that's
also
like
like the demon for demons. She, you know, she's the great devourer. She devours the unideal and births out the into it to its
yeah,
divine form.
yes,
I believe
yes.
I'm not sure. I'm not versed on her, so forgive me if that's
No,
incorrect.
it's okay. I only know her from channeling her. I don't know a whole lot. Like I haven't done a
Mm.
whole lot of research, but I've called on her when I've needed some big energy in my life, and she's intense. But
Mm.
I feel like that's like an overall kind of message in general of like we live in a society and a world where people don't want to look at stuff because it's too painful to look at, and they're afraid of bringing it up. But it's like, well, if we bring it to the surface, then we can change it, and then we can live in a better society and a better world for everyone. And that's what I think I'm like, passionate about. And that's, I think, to bring it back to the beginning, is like that's what I.F.S like does.
Mm.
Really powerful. Yeah.
And what's more spiritual than feeling, to embracing the divine, you know, being soul that you are, as well as the human that you are, exploring that, experiencing that, feeling that, knowing that, and just bringing it all back to that wholeness. So yeah, yeah. Sweet. So that was really good from a lot of like where you came from, and kind of like what you do. Do you want to go further into what you do and then give us like a little like meditation? Give us a little, like show me what you got.
Okay, yeah, sure. I'll see what comes through too. But
Give
like,
the kiddies at home a little taste.
yes, I'm very down. I'll see what comes through. Yeah. Yeah. So I feel like too, just like, well, I feel like what I do as like a healer in the healing world for me is like, well, you can find I put out these visualization guided meditations on my YouTube channel, Kundalini Kendall, and you can find like they're all Reiki infused. Because I'm a writer, I think I'm really good at like painting a visual picture of like what
Mm.
you're experiencing. Um, the imagination is so powerful, so I really harness that in my meditations. And sometimes I will do things like I will incorporate I.F.S. or I will incorporate something else that is coined by a light worker named Edward Mannix called the compassion key. And that is
Mm.
really profound. And that is just putting a hand on the heart and offering yourself compassion for something you've experienced, be it this life or another lifetime. Um, so you can find like I do all sorts of different meditations, and it's a very like I'm very led by my like intuition. So it's like very much like when I feel guided, I'll put something out. But I would say a lot of them really are around like what's blocking you from like shining and being just like your true self, and like any fear you have that's preventing you from fully being able to do that, or any limiting beliefs, whether it's financial or it's you're not being seen fully in a relationship, or you're not being fully seen in what you're trying to do in the world, or and like there's just like I think I have something for everyone on there. So definitely check out my meditations. um and I think where my heart's really calling me to do with that is I think I do one-on-one work, but I find that I find much more joy in I do retreats sometimes. Um I lead them with some of like my soul sisters, or soul brothers like Matt. I think we're going to be leading something soon. So stay tuned
Mhm.
for that. But I really like leading. I'm a projector in human design. So I've heard this thing about projectors where it's like I forget how the projector movement is. I really like them. And they said something along the lines of this, but like we're here as a guide, not to guide people, not be therapists, I guess. Like or like I don't know how he exactly said it, but I feel that where I'm like, I can so see exactly like where something needs to be fixed. And I can like really offer like a very wise insight. And that's what I'm really good at. I think because of the energy that I have, like I prefer to be kind of in that format rather than just like with the exception of very close friends, being
Mhm.
really in the weeds with people. I don't personally
Same.
rather just do that with close friends. I think that I prefer to like guide or like do this sort of thing. Yeah. And
I
I
feel
think
like for me in a lot of situations similar to you, it's like I kind of feel like Rain Man, where I walk into somewhere, I don't even have to look at something and be like, how he's just like, there's 100 and some toothpicks on the floor. I can just see something like, oh, they got some things going on with their situation. It's like, oh, you should say that to this person, or like, or it's with your root chakra, just stuff like that, and I just roll on. It's
same same I'm the same way where I can just totally see what everybody's shit is. And I think as a projector, one of the things that I'm sure you relate to this that I'm still learning how to navigate is really deciphering when that is invited by someone and when
mm,
someone is ready to hear that and when
the
they're not.
great projector conundrum.
Yes, because when it's received well, oh my God, it's the best feeling in the world. It's like fucking orgasm. You're like, oh my God, yes, like thank you. But you're like, it's so,
Yes.
I mean, that is like that inner child part of me, really, truly. And that's like that misfit thing where it's like, I just like that feeling of like feeling like you're always kind of missing the mark. And it really sucks. Like, it really sucks. Like, that's a big wound for me. And,
It's death.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
death.
it's horrible. It's absolutely awful. And I have had to do so much healing around that because I mean, the other thing to talk about is like, so for 8 to 10 years I've worked in Hollywood, and I'm first led with screenwriting, but I also act and stuff. And I have like 6 projects set up with different uh actors, production companies, directors, like big people are involved with a lot of them. Hopefully in the next year or two, one of them will be made into the world, and then you can see my voice more openly. But I do have a YouTube channel called I Am Kendall Milton, where I have like funny, if you like sketch comedy, I'm going to be putting out more like even like spiritual themed sketch comedy videos too. So if you are into that, like definitely subscribe to that, because there's gonna be some funny content on there, and there is old sketches on there that you can find that I did with a friend a few years back, and they're really fun. But
Mhm.
I because you know that's kind of been where I've been, and that's such a huge part of my soul is like writing. I also am a songwriter and acting. All of that is like such like that to me is that like lights me up more than anything in the world. That has been such an interesting path for me, because the experience of that, then waking up and kind of coming back to myself, going through the spiritual rebirth, and then straddling like these 2 very different worlds,
Mhm.
has just further brought up all this stuff of like, I don't belong anywhere. Where do I fit in? Where I feel like a square peg in a round hole. Like, where do I fit? Because I'm too like I feel like the way people have looked at Jim Carrey is like they're in Hollywood. They're like, oh, he's kind of crazy or whatever. But it's like, oh, I believe all the things Jim Carrey believes. Like it's like it's like a town full of cynics and atheists who don't like who are kind of like bitter about things, and rightly so, because we've had like this industry can be very toxic. And then there's like the spiritual community, but I always was like, I don't know how much I fully fit into the full extent of that, because I feel like I'm also like want to make dick jokes for a living, and I'm like superhuman, and I'm not like I don't know. And so I just was like, where the fuck do I fit? Like I just don't know where I am. And like I also like I'm like, how do you tell your agents that like, oh, don't worry like about this. Like we can just go right to this like super famous director, because because I spoke to like the mermaids, like, and they're like and they told me that they're helping on this project. So don't worry, we can totally go to Margot Robbie. Like it's just like telling people who are so not, it's like I just would sound crazy. And it's like that is the fear, I think, of it all, where it's like, where do I really fit? And having to realize and accept within myself that, okay, I'm here to do this like very differently. I'm here
Mhm.
to bring also this like the divine feminine, I feel, into this very distorted masculine industry, where artists have been massively underpaid and taken advantage of, and were expected to just be in constant burnout, and like be so grateful that these suits like give us these opportunities, and reminding ourselves like we are the creators, like we literally are the center of this. And so yeah, it's definitely been a journey, I think. I've had multiple other psychics and people just say you're here to be a trailblazer, like you're here to do it in a new way. And it's really painful and triggering to sometimes be that person, because when your biggest inner child wound is being perceived as weird or not being understood, it's like really hard to have to be bringing in a new way on like in this
Mhm.
industry where you don't feel like they get you. And I've had a lot of I've like grown apart from a lot of friends in choosing to be more authentic in myself. And you
Mhm.
know as that happens, you bring in new people, of course. But it's um it's definitely can be hard. So like I think that's the truth of it. But I know that I'm kind of here to do all of it, and to bring it all together in a way that we haven't really seen. um because I think that the mainstream desperately needs this, and this spirituality and even this, if we're talking about it, has been on like the fringes of society. And then there has been, I think, a lot of distortion in even the spiritual community, like we were talking about earlier. It's like, and so there's just been a lot of like spiritual egos and spiritual narcissism, and we've seen really negative portrayals of it in the mainstream that's not
Oh
really
yeah, almost
accurate.
deterring other people away from it.
Yeah. Yeah, where it's like these gurus who are like clearly just very like narcissistic, like men, like that are just like that. It's not, they're not preaching like love. They're not preaching love and compassion for all. And that's what I remind myself too, is I'm like, the most spiritual thing you can do is love the most cynical person in your, like the person in your life that is the most cynical, like, you know, that is the least. And that's, it's like about all of it, right? And that's like, I feel like my humanness and my spirituality, like I feel like I tell stories of profound healing, but they're lensed through like dick jokes, like, you know, or like buddy comedies. Like my voice is super like bridesmaids vibes. Like that's like how I write. And so, you know, I don't know, but I think that's like, that's kind of for me, it's, it all comes together. So yeah. And I've had my last lifetime, I was a very famous movie star, and I feel like I got silenced and my life ended too soon. So I think I'm kind of back to fuck shit up. So yeah.
Blaze the trail, trailblazer will follow the flames.
Yes, 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 yes.
You're doing a lot of amazing work. You're a light where you are in the world, perfectly and strategically placed on the forefront, a garrison placed there. Um, you got the team on your back, girl. We feel you. We're with you. You are literally on the fucking vanguard of like you. I mean, you're fucking smack dab. You're like behind enemy lines.
Yeah.
Is what you are. You are literally a light worker in fucking Hollywood doing your shit. Just you're like, ah, fuck it. It's like you literally are like taking on like fucking like the cartel by yourself in your in like and you're just like fuck it's hard. It's like, well fuck, I wouldn't fucking do that. That's crazy.
So hard.
Is
That,
you're just like I going in there like SEAL Team 6 by yourself, which you're like tiny group of coven witch ass friends just
I
there.
know. That's so,
That's a powerful strike team right there.
um okay, so I'm going to do an activation that is going to help you feel safe to liberate your inner trailblazer. And I think we're really going to focus on that fear of rejection that comes up within that. So I invite you to just get comfortable and close your eyes, whether that's sitting down or laying down, however you like to meditate. And I am going to be sending this divine healing energy. And I want you to take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Really feeling the surface of the surface beneath you, against your feet. And another deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And I want you to imagine that there is a golden glowing root growing from the base of your spine, reaching down, down into the core of the most powerful feminine energy we know, Mother Earth. This golden light is reaching up through your root, up into your spine, filling you with this glowing golden light. And in your mind's eye, I want you to visualize that you are in a place that fills you with joy, your inner child with extreme joy. And this can be a place from your own imagination. It can be a fantastical forest. It can be Candyland. or it can be somewhere you love to go as a kid, just something that brings you a lot of joy. And I want you to really feel into how this place smells, how this place feels. And you notice a path in front of you. It is paved with a glowing crystal that has healing properties specifically for you at this time. And I'm going to count down from 5 to 1. And with each step forward that you take, you sink into a deeper and deeper state of relaxation. So 5, sinking deeper now. 4, really breathing into the base of your spine. 3, 2, and 1. And when you get to 1, you notice a whimsical doorway, something reminiscent of something you loved as a kid. And notice if you see anything carved on this doorway, whether it's a phrase or a symbol. And this is a specific message for your inner child right now. And you open the doorway. You step inside this magical forest-like area. You see flowers everywhere, butterflies flying, maybe there's fairies in the air. And there on a picnic blanket, you see a little version of yourself. And this is an age that you really need to talk to right now, an age that's really needing some love from you. That's directly connected to liberating your inner trailblazer, a part of you that maybe you've neglected or tucked away or been ashamed of. And so I want you to just observe before you say hi to this part of you. I want you to observe how old this part of you is. And I want you to notice, what is this inner child doing? What is this thing that this inner child is enjoying that's lighting this part of you up? Could be a gift that you've repressed or forgotten about, or some sort of hobby, just really taking this in. Now I want you to approach this inner child gently. You notice that they look up at you and they immediately stop what they're doing. Maybe they even tuck this away. Maybe they're embarrassed. Maybe they don't feel good enough. So I want you to let this inner child part of you know that it's okay, that they're safe with you. And ask them if it's okay with them if you could sit by them on this blanket and enjoy this tea party with them. And if they say yes, you sit down. And I want you to ask them now, how old do they believe that you are in your human form? And they might tell you that they think you're the same age that they are now. And if they think that you are any age other than the age that you are in this moment as a human, I want you to let them know that you understand why they don't realize you are an adult and that you love them. But you are an adult now and you are here to keep them safe and to give them the acceptance and love and recognition maybe that they never got as a kid. Now, I want you to ask them, how do they hold you back from liberating your inner trailblazer? In what ways do they reject themselves from maybe sharing this gift with the world, from truly being seen? I'm going to be silent as this comes up from the surface and this little part of you shares with you now. What belief do they have that keeps you feeling rejected for who you are? And it might be connected to this gift, or it might be something different. A belief that continues to perpetuate the same experience in your reality. And how has holding on to this belief been blocking this inner child part of you from stepping into something in your life that you specifically want to call in or experience? And what do you need to understand about the origin or root of this belief in order to help this inner child part of you let this go for good? How was this belief first formed, and what was the maybe lesson you were meant to learn by holding on to it up until this point? Now, allowing and inviting this inner child to share anything else with you that they need you to know, to speak their feelings or their needs. And I want you to just practice putting a hand on your heart and really sending them compassion for everything that they've had to overcome. Telling them that you hear them and you see them and you love them for who they are. And I want you to just offer compassion. I'm going to say two different phrases and I want you to repeat them after me. And then I'm going to be silent for a little and I'm going to allow you to say anything out loud that you feel your inner child specifically needs to hear, building off this style of speaking to them. So the first one is, I'm so sorry they didn't see you for who you were. I'm so sorry it didn't feel safe to be yourself. I'm so sorry being yourself led to rejection. So sorry being yourself led to abandonment. That was more than two phrases, but I invite you to now add anything else that you need to say and allow any emotions that need to come to the surface to come to the surface. And I'm just going to send you this healing energy. Now we are inviting in a new belief that is in alignment with you feeling safe to express your inner trailblazer outwardly, to be unique, to be yourself, to be authentic, to be you. And you notice that walking through the doorway is this expanded version of yourself, this magnetic. Maybe your hair is a style you've always wanted it to wear, or you're wearing something that you just, it really feels authentic and empowering. And maybe you just, this just very confident, successful, healthy version of yourself. And this is your inner trailblazer. This is the most authentically expressed version of you. And this inner trailblazer has a new belief for your inner child to feel safe, to be themselves. So we're allowing this part of you to share with this inner child now. What is a new belief? It's helpful if this can be the opposite of the fear. So if the fear is I am rejected when I express my true self, it's when I express my true self, I am loved, I am celebrated, I am accepted, I'm inspiring. I'm now asking this inner child if they would feel comfortable taking on this new belief and being open to a reality where this new belief was expressed and reflected outwardly. Not dismissing everything this inner child has experienced up until this point, but can I send my inner child compassion and be open to a brand new experience, one I've never experienced? and letting this inner child know that if they're willing to take on this belief, you will spend more time doing this activity that brings them joy. Maybe what you saw them doing when you first walked in, if there's something else they want to add. Promising that you will do this with them if they can be open to taking on this new belief now. And you hug your inner child and you feel them melt into your heart now. And you look at your inner trailblazer and they take your hand and they invite you now to share maybe one thing in your life in present day that has caused you fear or anxiety, and tell them what you're afraid of and allow them to express to you why this fear isn't going to happen. Maybe somewhere where you don't feel safe fully expressing yourself. And now allowing your inner trailblazer to share with you maybe one inspired action step, mindset shift, or just energetic shift that they have for you to really step into this energy of liberation, of being liberated and being yourself and knowing that it's safe. And you thank them for their wisdom and you hug them and you feel them merge into you and you look down in first person and you realize you are this inner trailblazer now. And so I want you to just visualize in your mind's eye, what does this look like? Just an image of you embodying this in your present life. Maybe you're standing on stage in front of people. Maybe you're just doing this thing, this something that your soul, you've been meaning to do, you need to do, but maybe you've been afraid to do. And I want you to just imagine yourself at the end of this manifestation. And you are just being received with so much love. And you are being celebrated for who you are. You are a unique puzzle piece that fits into the larger picture, and the world is waiting for you to be you. And so just grounding this sense of confidence back into your body, feeling your feet connected to the surface beneath you. Taking a deep breath in through your nose and out through the base of your spine, reconnecting with your physical body. And I want you to just take your time, opening your eyes. I am disconnecting from your energy. I am sending your energy back to you, and I'm pulling my energy back to me, and I'm grounding this energy in. And if you enjoyed this meditation, you can get a whole lot more like this on Kundalini Kendall. So I invite you to subscribe to me there, and please share in the comments below what your experience was, because I know that Matt and I would love to hear from you. So thank
Wow,
you.
yeah, it was my 8-year-old self.
Really?
And I I saw a lot from a lot of memories from that time. And not even just like 8, but just like there were some really interesting things about how I remember seeing other kids in school. And I think it was something about being a projector, seeing them so well, or just like, well, look at him, or I kind of want to be like him, or something about him, and rather than like focusing or just like looking at myself the same way, it was just interesting.
That's so interesting.
And the
Yeah,
fun part, like before you went through on the path through the door, I was in Disney World. I
that's
was
fun.
instead of it like being like a forest or something, it was like Disney World. I was like, oh, this is cool. Yeah.
That's so cool.
So thank you, Kendall. Wow.
You're very welcome. You're very, very welcome.
So Kendall,
Yes.
how the hell can we find you?
You can find me on YouTube at Kundalini Kendall for activations like the one I just did. You can also find me on YouTube at I am Kendall Milton for my acting and sketch comedy.
Hmm.
KundaliniKendall.com. You can see all the retreats I have coming up, all the workshops and events or past retreats I've done. There's so many different fun ones on there. I have a feminine archetype retreat, where I channel 7 different very powerful women and help you connect to the feminine archetype you want to embody in this next phase of life. I have a Miracle is Money and Power retreat I did with 3 other very powerful women on there. Um, just so many different things. So I invite you to check out kundalinikendall.com specifically to find the healing related stuff I'm offering, and then my YouTube for my activations. And you can find me on Instagram at Kundalini Kendall as well. And I am Kendall Milton if you want to see my sausage dogs and boyfriend and any Hollywood related stuff that I do. So that's more what that's for. But yeah.
She's a trip, guys. Check her out. She's really fun, and she's got some really cool stuff. And you do one-on-one, just to
I
reconfirm.
do one on one, yes, and I will link all of that below. If you're seeing me on here, then I'm advertising my one-on-ones to you because you were divinely guided, I think, to this specifically. I offer quantum leap specific sessions because I think the stuff I do is so powerful that it really does quantum leap you. Um, but I also offer Align to Your Dreams sessions where we focus on one specific thing that you want to call in your life. And I can
Mhm.
see exactly where we need to shift your energy to align to that one thing. So it really depends the what like the shift that you're wanting. If it's more drastic, I don't like the word drastic, but more it's like more extreme than quantum leap,
Found.
probably profound, yeah. And then if it's more like a just small shift, but you feel like you keep bumping up against the same energy,
Mm.
align to your dreams is going to be really, really powerful for that. So you can see those linked below. And I was just thinking for those that are listening to this, maybe we can get like a fun code
Yeah,
for people.
we'll get a promo. We'll get a promo
Yeah,
going.
like Matt rocks or something.
Shit, I'll take
We'll,
it.
we'll do like fun, yeah, or like whatever what a good code, and then you guys can check that out below. So yeah.
And before we go, one more thing is, you said the quantum leap things that you do. Kendall is a part of the Twin Flame group that I facilitate for, and back when it was under Rachel, Kendall came in and had a was it a three-part series?
A 3-part Quantum Leap series, yes. And I actually, that turned into, so if you want to do a Quantum Leap series, that's actually on my website.
Like the one that was recorded during the Twin Flame. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's right. That's right. That was really powerful, guys. I saw a shift after 3 weeks.
Okay, yeah, yes. Because when we did the change up, I remember I think Rachel was like, "You should sell this as a course on your website," and I was like, "Oh my God, yeah." So that's actually on my website. It's a really powerful 3-part series. Yes,
Okay,
yes,
cool. Yeah, yeah, okay. Cool.
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Kendall James Milton. Kendallini Kendall.
It's so funny. Can I just say one thing about my name? So it's so
Go
funny because
ahead.
my real name is actually Kendall Elizabeth Milton, but I changed my name as a pseudonym in Hollywood to Kendall James because I really liked the name James. And I was like, I'm just gonna go by that. I went on like a whole Galinda from Wicked like moment where I went through a whole journey only to come back to my original name. I go by Kendall Milton as a screenwriter and an actor. That is my the name I was born with. That became really important to me. It's a whole past life thing. But anyway, I was going by Kendall James, and then I decided, no, I have to go by my real name. I have to go by Glinda, or whatever. And then I let go of, I was like, okay, I'm going to not go by Kendall James anymore. But then my twin flame, my partner, is named James. And I had
Oh,
that as my
cool.
name for a year before he we got together and he came into my life and like I knew him. Like literally before I knew him. Like or like I think we had met briefly a few times here and there, but I was totally not paying attention to him. So I didn't think that, like, to me, the name James sounded like a sick writer, like Sylvia Plath. Like, I was like, this is a cool, Kendall James sounds like a cool writer name, which it does. But then it was ironic that I took that name off and then he came into my life and I went by Kendall Milton again. So I don't know what that was, but that is just like a really weird little manifestation story.
The name James was meant to be part of your life,
A
for
hundred
sure.
percent. There's something in me with that. So yeah.
Yeah. We know a lot of them too, I think, in different forms. And I mean, my middle name is James, so
Oh yeah.
yeah. Just
There you go.
cool. Thank you all for listening and being a part here. We love you so much. Kendall Milton, MC Warrior the Light out.